Well, folks, good afternoon here. It is a Sunday afternoon for us here in the broadcast box, and our apologies we couldn't get this racing action to you live on Friday night. You can blame me for that. Unfortunately, held up getting home from work, and so we let Andrew get behind the wheel of a car and join the field for our opening week of racing action here, which wasn't a Friday night, for the all-new Gentelmens Endurance Championship in the home of tonight's racing. Very apt indeed, given that the World Endurance Championship has visited here this weekend for its opening race of the 2026 season. Welcome to the Autodromo Internazionale Enzo e Dino Ferrari, otherwise much simpler and better known as Imola, here as we look at this storied circuit, which has seen plenty of endurance and Formula One racing now to boot as well over the previous little bits and pieces. As we're coming to the final moments of the qualifying session that was part of that action there, and we'll talk about the results from qualifying in a moment, of course, and then a 1 hour and 15-minute race to come after that. But hope you're looking forward to this one, folks, and for the drivers who took part on Friday night, hopefully maybe there'll be a couple of insights they can share via the broadcast chat along the way for this one. But you haven't figured it out yet. My name is Dino, be on the microphone for you here tonight, and Andrew Neal, having taken part in the race on Friday due to this change in plans, also going to be behind the buttons for you tonight to bring all of this here on screen. So Andrew, great to be working with you, I think, for our first time working together here for the GSRC, and as I've hinted there, got the chance to actually race this one on Friday night thanks to my issues getting home. So what was it like, I guess, if you can give a quick summary without spoiling too much, and what are you looking forward to seeing here, perhaps the second thing with a no spoilers preview of what's to come here on broadcast, perhaps?
No, Daniel, thank you. What a race. Great turnout by the all the guys that get in there and have a race. Good to have that mixed class racing back with GSRC. It was a bit of a nightmare for me, but I think a lot of the guys had a lot of fun in there.
Indeed, and also need to make a shout, of course, to Disruptive Labs, both club season sponsor once again, and also specifically sponsoring this particular championship of racing action too. So need to make our thanks to Richo and the crew there for supporting out the club once again. As you can see by the information, 75 minutes, 1 hour and 15, of course, and estimating a rough race distance of about 200 kilometers. However, it will be dictated by the clock and not by a lap count here in this race. You can see also as qualifying wraps up, weather conditions pretty pleasant out there. A 19-degree air temperature works out to apparently just over 20 degrees on track temperature. Overcast skies and fairly low wind speeds, also meaning that things are reasonably pleasant out there for the drivers. On this Grand Prix configuration, of course, there are only two options at Imola. There is a little moto chicane you can throw in on the start finish stretch, but that kind of certainly means the run out of Rivazzi to down to Tamburello chicane. Otherwise, it's looking like it's going to be a good track to kick things off here in this season. And as you mentioned, multi-class, Andrew, we're going to see drivers have the choice of the GTP, current hypercar class specification machines, but tackling them alongside on this track. It's a throwback to the very last year that WEC ran the GTE class of car. Having had its recent refresh from iRacing, it's now on the same tyre modelling, which means that if we had so chosen, we could have potentially seen rain in this series, but it has been decided as a bit of a heads up that we won't have any rain to tackle in this season as a bit of a test case scenario. So in some respects a shame, but I see why we might have made that choice, just to maybe take things a little steadier on getting back to multi-class racing of this type. And so we're just coming down now to our last couple of moments in qualifying here before we can go to the grid, and we'll line up to get this race underway here for you folks and bring you the hour and 15 minutes on order. But in fact, what we can do now is actually go to those qualifying results on screen with us here, and we can start walking you through the order. So at the top of the timesheet, Sam Sutton for Loja GODBM got the pole position time here. So 128.7 was 4/10 better than the next best driver in Sean Campbell. 129.1, just over 4/10 down. I should note that qualifying was actually an open session with GTP and GTE cars sharing the track together. So that will explain, to some extent, the gaps we're seeing here on screen, folks, as the drivers had to sort of navigate their way through the field. Ben Woods and Lachlan Cable for the next GODBM drivers sharing row number 2 to get this race started tonight. There was then Brandon Groch and Craig Bond who would qualify 5th and 6th place there on screen. Brooklyn Braden for Northwind Motorsports out of P7 with Sean Dorey alongside him on the 4th row of this group. But the top 10 going to be rendered out by fellow GSRC broadcast team member Matt Schmicky there in P9 and Travis as a party in P10 for Whiskey Business. And Travis also one of the driver organising this series here for this particular season. As that's your front part of the GTP field, and saying, we've got a long way to go in the order. So if we can flick over the page, we'll grab up row number 6 and Eduardo Zamora in that order out of 11th and 12th for AITX Revolution E-Racing. In Chapman's case, Zamora running by himself. Then in 13th place, it was Jeff Adams who was sharing the 7th row with Blake Fitz. There, David Baz and Dale Atkins out of 15th and 16th, pardon me, there for those two drivers. And then behind them on row number 9, going to be Richard King and Somo Mazomo to get down towards the rear of the grid, but we still keep going with Warren Ibbett and Greg Heaney out of 19th and 20th. And your last of the GTP cars, Callan Hodgkinson and Andrew Neal. In fact, there you are, Andrew. On row 11, Martin Lipsky and Shorben McKernan on the 12th row there for 23rd, 24th, and Edward Rollo going to be the 25th and final GTP driver to take to the grid here tonight. And then we get into the GTE field, starting with Johnny Bannock taking the class pole in qualifying just ahead of Ryan Jones. And you'll note there, just half a tenth in it for the GTE pole. So pretty wild stuff there. Luke King, another only 3/10 back for Whiskey Business to be the next car there. And then you have Stephen Ball 4th in the class. Trent Allen reigning at top 30 overall there for AITX Revolution E-Racing. Rodney Gowan and Paul Wood, 31st, 32nd. Eli Donaldson, Cooper Friend, 33rd and 34th. With Adam Lavis there, pardon me, alongside Kurt Nommensen, John Akers and Nick Wood, 37, 38. Top 40 rounded up by Joel Hansen and Kelly McLaren. Joel Janssens, Jordan Dakin, 41st, 42nd, Ben Gorringe, Jake Cowman for 44 cars, and then Aidan Cal, Todd Martin, Thomas Cole were in the server at some point, but no qualifying time set. And by the looks of it, Aidan and Todd didn't start the race. Thomas did start the race from the very last available position there. So it was going to be a 45-car field to start this one off here, as having ticked over to the race session, looks like the weather conditions there slightly better. Yeah, we are 20 degrees. And we're about 20 seconds away now, folks, from the cars rolling off here on the formation lap. Apologies for that one there, as we're just getting our head around broadcasting off a replay here for this one. And as you can see, now most of the field lined up and ready to go. Starting here at Aqua Minerale, they get half lap to prepare things, and then once the green flag drops for the field, they will get off and go racing. And in both classes at the same time, I should say. So despite the fact the GTE class treat it like an iRacing race in that sense, where there's no control dictating that the GTE class, being the second class in the circuit tonight, has to wait for a certain point. So as they begin the walk along now, we'll get ourselves ready to see these cars get set to go racing here tonight. And it's going to be in the hands of Sam Sutton to lead us away for this first race of the season here at Imola. As well, as I said, a perfect analog in many respects to what is going on in the real world at the moment, thanks to the Imola 6-hour having been just run and done in the real world for the World Endurance Championship. Of course, these days, the lower class of that championship is now Le Mans GT3, as they call it, rather than these higher powered, better gripped GTE cars. So can't really do a comparison there, but we can always, of course, play the guessing games here. Strong Porsche representation at the front of the GTP field. Sean Campbell there, almost a bit of an outsider there in the gridandgo.com esports Cadillac. And Brendan Groch in a Ferrari for DPR are going to start at a P5 here. But as we come around to advances 1 and 2, it's time to get ready for the green flag and say hello to the opening race of the Disruptive Labs Gentelmens Endurance Championship in Season 2026B for the Gentelmens Sim Racing Club. The iRacing pace car hits the pit lane, and it's time to be in the hands of Sam Sutton to see when we take the green. He hits the hammer down just after the DRS boards. We are underway. They'll get the green flag here in a moment from iRacing, as this race of an hour and 15 minutes is finally going to see its green right about now. Here we go. Down towards the Temporary chicane. Going to be neat and tidy here. Sutton clear of Campbell. Forward the line. Top four, a little bit side by side there between Bondi and Groch for P5. Going to allow the top four to break clear, relatively speaking, as we head on down towards the Villeneuve chicane into Tosa. For the first time, clambering up and over the curbs. And watch these drivers still have to tiptoe a little bit. Cold tyres in these cars are a handful, to say the least, as the scrapping still continuing on fiercely behind, in and around now. I think for 6 places so between Bond and Braden, I believe it was, as they work their way up the hill now towards Piratella corner here for the first time. As I've got a copy of the replay playing on my side as well, and listening to the fact that plenty of incident reports came in thick and fast in this one here tonight, as down through the Aqua Minerale at racing pace now for our drivers here, with Campbell giving Sutton the hurry up as we head towards the Variante Alta chicane. Get these cars up over the curbs. Don't get a slowdown penalty, of course. That's one of the things you have to be mindful of, as always. But so far, so good here for our GTP cars as they make their way down the hill. And in fact, there you go. I think a sign of possible slowdown for Campbell, because he's ended up miles off the marker of Sutton as we come down through advances 1 and 2. And Craig Bond starting to, has actually broken well clear of the rest of the GTP fielders. And there's been trouble further in the back. I have to say it's off screen at the moment, but there's multiple cars at Rivarza 1 that ended up around Dale Atkins sideways and in trouble there. David Baz speared sideways, and then also as a party in the grass, Chapman in the gravel. We also had Kellen Hodgkinson join the trouble as well at Rivarza 1, ending up quite the madness down there as we're checking one of the drivers who survived it all, Jeff Adams, in the subpar racing number 70, making his way out of the Tamburello chicane and down towards Villeneuve now. So he ends up getting himself up to P10 with that one there, and a couple of spots gained to his satisfaction, as he'll try and find some positions. Got riders Mora, Matt Schmidtke, Bookman Braden not too far in front of him, who are all prime candidates. Blake Fitz there not too far behind though for him. We'll be looking to try and see what he can do. And of course, all that's happening, that's just one of our 2 classes here tonight. We also have the GTE class, and whilst we can cover them there on lap number 1, Ryan Jones was the driver to get away near the front of the field to a good start here tonight. And an interesting choice of paint job, I'd have to say there. DPR Racing in a Porsche GTE, but in the mild 7 and Renault's mid-2000s F1 colours. I don't know about you, Andrew, but to me that feels like a particularly wild combination to slap together.
That is the joys of iRacing. We can do anything we want.
I mean, you're not wrong. We certainly do have plenty of choice. There are restrictions what you can do by virtue of if you follow the custom paint policy, but that's a different kettle of fish that I am not necessarily inclined to want to open up right about now. As in front of your GTE field, coming around to complete their second lap at racing speed. You can see, thanks to the issues of lap 1 there, Hodgkinson in the background, and the GTP now has to come through these cars to actually reclaim outright track position as they wind their way down the start-finish straight, but not a straight bit of circuit by any means, with plenty of left-right kinks there, which narrow up the circuit in points. And it's going to mean that with a particular focus in this series around seeing the drivers, wanting to see the drivers take good care when it comes to clean and effective passing, that we are going to have our hands full on that one, I'm sure, across the course of this evening. We'll check back in with the GTE cars in due course as we just have a look here at Lachlan Capel. Now out in a bit of a clean air, relatively speaking, in third place. Not able to keep up with Campbell or Sutton so far to start, but then again, Capel not particularly one to often drive these cars. It's certainly a good training race for him in terms of laps and time that he'll be looking to get under his belt. But we'll watch for that in due course. We may want to just go one car back to Ben Woods and Craig Bonders. There we are. Slowdown penalty, I believe it was. I was told by Woodsy off of either the very anti-Alta chicane or the Ravazza turns. Had to yield the spot there to Bondi down in towards the Tamburello chicane and drop back into P5. Now, as we start this next lap of the race, and at this point, we're now coming up on about 10 minutes into the session as we're taking these laps away. Of course, it means we are looking at somewhere in the order of about 50, I think it was, or so laps it ended up being for our GTP cars. Yes, indeed. It's actually 50 laps exactly for our leading GTP cars. So it's a bit of a sort of an idea of where we're going at. And in fact, it does mean for the GTPs, just under 5Ks per lap. It's nearly a 250K race for them tonight. So as I said, 200 kilometers was a bit of an estimate number. It's going to vary by track, of course, given that average speeds will change as time goes on. But we'll check back in with our leaders in due course. Back with Jeff Adams here, P10 at the moment. Got Zamora half a second in front. Blake Fitz just about 7/10ths back as they climb up towards the very Alta chicane here as well. I want to see which cars are doing well over curbs and which cars aren't, because there was definitely a case that I heard that there was cars like the Cadillac GTP here actually not too keen on the curbs around this track, which means it's a little annoying, I would suggest, because this track, plenty of flat, wide open curbs that you're going to want to use if you can get your head around them. Not necessarily your head around them in a car like this. It's more about find a car track or a car and setup combination that's going to actually play ball with them. As we come back to our race lead between Sam Sutton and Sean Campbell as they work their way around the Tosa hairpin. Yeah, they're now on their fifth lap of the race. You can see they already picked up a little bit of traffic. Joel Jansen's in the background in a Northwind Corvette. Just already passed by. It looks like we are going to see them approach drivers, GTE traffic as part of a proper pack. If the relative box in the bottom right is anything to go by in due course. And looking at my copy of my track map, a little ways off seeing actual GTE traffic insane. So for now, this is merely a case of seeing who's got their car warmed up. Although how's that there? Big dust cloud down at the Ravazza turns, and I'm going to suggest that might have been Sean Dory. I'll just have a quick look at it on my replay, actually, just to confirm that. Yes, unfortunately, Dory a little too fast into Ravazza 1 on a slightly tighter than line. And as a result, that's what kicked up all the gravel. As there you go, first bit of GTE traffic. Thomas Cole who normally actually see helping the club out in race control, various nights during the week, just ends up in Sutton's case, perhaps wrong place, wrong time to be able to execute a pass. So has to wait till after the Tamburello chicane, and Campbell is right back on the gearbox of your race leader as they round the Tosa hairpin, and continue to see here these two pretty evenly matched for the moment, as now Sean Dorey next on road, Jordan Dakin, they just flashed through the screen. So as we build in the laps, as we watch the clock tick down, start to see these drivers going to have to negotiate traffic. At this particular point in the race, the field spread covers just about all but the start-finish straight. If you can sort of imagine GTPs taking everything up in the front half of the circuit, and the GTE's back half of the circuit, round in front of the leaders. Dakin will slide over the Variante Alta chicane, thankfully just far enough in front, and Sutton able to slow down enough to compensate for that and avoid getting himself entangled in that incident there. But for Dakin, that's unfortunately putting him even further back relative where he was hoping to be in this race. Now we watch for Jake Cowman to leave plenty of track open as the cross. You can see here 1:32.0 for Sutton, 31.9 versus typical race pace for Lachlan Capel with 30.5. So they did lose a healthy dose of time there, having to get parked up for behind Cole in Tamburello, and also perhaps just checking up for Dakin in the Variante Alta. As the lap times flow through, a lot of 32s and 33s there for your GTP cars in the mid-pack. Field spread will be something that we have to pay close attention to. Back towards the front of the GTE field we will go now. Eyes here on Eli Dalton, 25th outright, but I'm not mistaken with things. That does indeed put him as 5th in the class. Pardon me, 3rd in class. Let's get that right for once. And actually good to see here we have Jones in the Porsche 911 RSR, Stephen Bull there in the middle for GTE. Then you've got yourself Ferrari 488 GTE for Eli. So plenty of car variety with Johnny Bannock P4 in the next to the Porsche RSRs. And then we do get a bit of Porsche and Porsche love there amongst the next group of cars. Paul Wood, the leading BMW M8 GTE in that second pack. It's just in the background, a shot here as they run down towards turn number 1. Oh, pardon me, Tamburello is actually technically turns 2, 3, and 4 here. Well, I've got to remember that and get my head around that over these in the due course. As I'm just seeing a bit of slow motion for... Oh, and Donaldson off wide through the exit of the Villeneuve chicane. He'll lose P3 to Bannock. But looks to have otherwise gathered that back up pretty quick. Try and get back on the action out of Tosa. So a little moment there. And costly in the short term. We'll see how well he hangs on to that one going on. As we watch here with Stephen Bull on board down towards the Ackerman Arale complex here. Of course, tricky little bit of track. We want to take more entry and exit than perhaps is wise sometimes, but get through it pretty neatly and carry on up towards the Variante Alta, and then get to discover here who's got a car that's compliant over curbs, able to attack the apexes, but then still land and get the power back down for this run downhill to move up to 1 and 2. And based off that one there, I would suggest that Bull looking pretty decent there, but Jones holding the fort now and has been since the start of the race when he got that class lead away after the race start. Johnny Bannock, who is still now trying to get back up towards the front of the class. P3 obviously is not too bad, but not quite where he want to be, I'm sure. As we work our way down towards Tamburello once again, and Bannock shows the nose to the inside of Bull. Doesn't get the move done though, so he will stay in 3rd place. And trying on the exit though, here we go. Up towards the Villeneuve chicane. Also got David Baz scything past in the BMW GTP. So traffic from a faster class to worry about, but Bannock gets the job done. He moves up a position to 2nd in class here on the exit of the Villeneuve chicane. Now they'll work their way up the hill in pursuit of Mr. Jones. And in the background there, Trent Allen also getting past Eli Donaldson for position number 4 in class. So that happened on the run towards the Tamburello chicane there. As now Pole using all of the track, keeping just the right side tyres on the exit curb of Acro Minerale. Track limits are reasonably generous there. And I guess that's one thing to ask you around, Andrew. Obviously, you know, GTP car carrying a lot of speed through these turns. I guess, how much did it feel like you were having to be mindful of track limits? Just a reference for the driver, people watching along, 30 incident points was the limit they had tonight as we watched Craig Bonds and Ben Woods split John Akers there. That was close.
Mate, these GTP cars, they do well, lots of speed through the corners, but yeah, a lot of off tracks as well at the same time. I did not give any practice at all, so I had a bit of a nightmare, but the guys that can drive them just drive the wheels off them.
I don't blame you for having no practice, because about an hour before we were meant to go live, you were intending to go live until you insisted that I take a moment just to not worry about it. As up the inside at Tamburello, Ben Woods will get back through on Craig Bond. And that will allow him to soldier on. In the meantime, we've actually had Sean Campbell drop a long way off the back of Sam Sutton for the class lead. So that has gave Sutton the leg up at this point in time. And Campbell is now having to carefully pick his way through traffic wherever the gaps were available. So just watching further on back, Stephen Bull, Allen, Donaldson, Lockie Capel go by, and that was a little tight for Capel up into Puritella. This is, your GTP leaders and your GTE leaders together on the circuit now. This is, of course, everyone's trying to protect their track position. He's also got, GTP on GTP, but it's lap traffic situation thanks to Dale Atkins, unfortunately, being entangled down here at Rivarts is 1 and 2 on lap number 1. In a nasty check-up and error there, but Campbell gets through without much fuss. There's Sutton already past the pit entry to sort of put that 3 odd seconds, so 4.5 now, pardon me, into some perspective as they work their way up the stretch. And there you go, Sutton also getting a clean lap in to go into the improve his PB to a 29.6. Whereas traffic laps, they're 31s, 32s. For our front runners, Brandon Grotch, a PB into the 1 minute 30s at a .757 for him. Here's more of that traffic situation with Eduardo Zamora. He's got Blake Fitz on his gearbox as these two try and pass some more GTE cars. Also try and keep up with Matt Schmicke in front of them. As it's they're passing by now on the run to Tamburello, and Fitz up the inside. Been a big brake lock up for Zamora. Can't get it pulled up, and a host of cars, they're all the way back to Simon Mazomo, who's 13th in the class, all get on by him. So there you go, trying to challenge around the outside of Tamburello, whilst also having just dealt with traffic on the approach. And it all comes unstuck for the man we were watching there on screen. So if anything, I guess we're talking about that one being a bit of a just a visual jinx. I didn't say anything, so I can't claim it was me. Schmicke now, the driver, these guys behind him were looking to chase. There you go. Jumps up the inside of Kurt Nommensen, as apparently we're not live on YouTube at the moment, which is exclusively a Facebook restream. There you go. There's deep for Schmicke through the Variante Alta. It's going to allow Blake Fitz to catch up and get up the inside. Obviously there, Kurt Chapman also looking for a way through as well as we get down towards Rivarza 1. Inside line for Chapman. He's locked up though, and he's going to push Fitz wide with him. Schmicke gets the spot back, if you will, but a massive traffic jam in Rivarza 1 as a result of that moment there, caught on camera. And Schmicke gets free once again. Chapman spins by himself in the second of the Rivarzas. Unfortunately, disaster for him there at the end of lap 11 of the race. He tumbles down the order as positions updated at the end of that lap. And there you go. Fitz, Adams, Mazomo now scrapping pretty fiercely together at this point in the race. I think we are we're coming up on 25 minutes complete in this race. Actually, we've just crossed the 20-minute mark. It's 53.5 minutes remaining in the session at this point in time. And so Schmicky will work his way up the hill once again. So there's a bit of early race drama. In fact, Chapman looks like he heads to the pit lane there after getting the car back around where he wants it. So definitely not a happy time there for Chapman. There you go. Fitz, Adams, Mazomo, Zamora as a party all together now. So if you add in Schmicky, it's P8 through to P13 in a decent-sized train of GTP cars. And we'll just see. For these guys right now, they've got GTEs that they're going to come up on soon. As behind them, the 31 of Ron Ibbett ended up going around at the very own Alta chicane. And on the other side of the circuit, Joel Jansen's had a bit of drama in his, what was it, GTE car. As the unfortunate issue for Ibbett was going past some GTE traffic. He ended up locking the brakes and ended up backwards in the runoff at the very odd tail of the chicane. So that's how he'll drop down the tower in a moment, but we'll check back in with the GTE leaders as they come around up towards the Tosa hairpin. Banak still trying to close in on Ryan Jones and get back to that class lead that he had taken in qualifying. And of course, an open session of qualifying, a little unusual, some would say, but first round, trying out some new stuff in a sense here. Just allowing us to get our feet sort of settled and sorted in this series. Top four here in GTE looking pretty composed and together now, with Bull dropping out of the group for the moment. Two Porsches, a Ford and a Ferrari. There you go, Schmicky coming through, leading that pack of GTPs through the next couple of GTE cars, as I said. Maybe under some traffic situations once again pretty shortly. Yes, here they are. They're on their 12th lap of the race, whilst of course our leaders have started lap number 14. And there you go, actually. Seems off cycle perhaps, but one of our leading drivers in the pits, Trent Allen, going to duck down early and fill his car up just on that 20-odd minute mark, which in some respects makes some sense for you to presume these cars can do close to an hour or so. Or then again, I do believe we ended up with possible fuel restrictions. I probably do need to double check on that going forward into pardon me, no fuel restrictions. So yes, indeed, that was the offset stop strategy there, it would appear, from Trent Allen. Get himself in range to now go long to the end of the race. But meanwhile, at the front of the field, Sam Sutton had it easy, it seems, at this point in time. 4.5 seconds with that gap not really shifting to Sean Campbell. And now in a piece of track that is currently unoccupied, it feels like. With, plenty of gap in front of him as he makes his way down towards the Tamburello chicane. And that still steady and healthy margin that I was speaking about there, of course, behind him to Campbell and the rest of the field. Cable Woods and Bond, the top 5 in the classes. There was a bit of chatter over the radio about some kind of incident involving Simon Zomo, but you can see here the 9.5 SimSports driver and his Cadillac looking fairly robust. One of the things that apparently did seem to be the case is there were some incidents later on in this session, but the Cadillac's rather resilient to minor to moderate bumps and scrapes, perhaps more so than some of the others in the class. Now, of course, there are now 5 GTP car drivers have a choice to race from. The BMW, well, we'll start alphabetically. We should also go with the Acura, of course, ARX-06. As Mazomo trying to get past Jordan Dakin here to clear on his way. Ends up in a bit of a pickle through the Villeneuve chicane and has to finish the pass at Tosa. Now some more to catch up to him in an inconvenient spot there, to put it mildly. Dakin also not too impressed by the fact that the move tried to be made, it seems, in the first place at the Villeneuve chicane with that headlight flash. I was just. But the Acura ARX06, the BMW M Hybrid V8, the Cadillac's B Series R, and the Ferrari 499P being, of course, the Le Mans hypercar specification currently in the series, the R-Racing service, and of course the Porsche 963 being all your options for this category. And looking at the car manufacturer list for this class, looks like, Andrew, you and Greg were the only two to go Acura out there for that race. So, dark horse or just not a popular pick, do you think?
That is a very good question, and maybe that was my issue for the race night. It was a disaster for me, but I think Greg went all right, so it wasn't too bad around there. Power delivery was nice.
Oh, there you go. So, appreciate the insights. That's actually kind of handy to sort of get an idea of what was going on there with that one. As we continue to watch here, some more trying to stay with Mazzomo. Good news for Mazzomo seems to be that he's found a bit of rhythm again to give himself some breathing room, but Joel Jansen's GTE traffic in front going to probably slow him up at some point here as they work their way down the hill into the Acura Minerale complex. Schmidtke still holding down this 8th place in class position that feels like it's been his ever since we started looking at this driver here in the session. Still got Blake Flitz behind, still got Jeff Adams behind, and then of course Mazzomo and Zamora. Here, Cadillac, Ferrari, actually then two more caddies, and then a BMW. As we just heard a radio call from As a Party. Something happened earlier on. I'll see if I can find that and talk you through it, folks, since we unfortunately can't go back and view that on the actual feed that you and I are watching right now without that causing issues. And looking at his As a Party's lap, he was the driver who called it in. I think he just ends up in a bit of a precarious spot with GTE traffic racing each other and trying to find his way through. And we also have GTE traffic lapping, or GTE's lapping a GTE car. So I think just a little bit, just a little bit of a moment there with As a Party. He's just tried to sort out where he wanted to go. I think there was a car off the gravel side of frame. Nope, I think it's a false alarm. Take that back. I believe I might be just completely making things up in saying that. As we watch him here now on his 17th lap of the race, head on round into the Tosa chicane. And go and chase down or get clear of Ryan Jones. That will now give him some breathing room for a little bit, although Jake Cowman, last car in this part of the circuit, but there you go, Jake, plenty clear of the racing line and allows As a Party and Ryan Jones both through fuss. So there you go, nice and steadily forward. They've got Sutton, the race leader, backing up towards them once again. There you go, Greg also giving us the rundown from YouTube as well as Facebook. Drove the Acura for the good turbo noises. Okay. I feel like my memory of the Acura is clearly not good enough if I can't remember.
The Acura has a bit of a turbo flutter when you come off the gas.
Yes. Yes, right. Thank you for that. There's the IndyCar-derived engine. It does indeed have a pretty unique engine note. So you can also see, because Travis being one of your other teammates in the session, he chose the Cadillac for this season. It's not just this race, folks, of course. As we see with many of our other multi-car championships, the rules are that you should be picking and sticking with a car if you wish to actually score the points you're eligible for in each race that you do this season. just in the background of this shot whilst we're watching Robbie Gold. Once again, yeah, you're racing into Sam Sutton. Trying to find a way through on the traffic that was before him. At one point, I think I saw GTEs either side of the road. It was like, okay, down the middle. He had to go on the approach to the Villeneuve chicane. But, I don't even know what the reference is there to suggest Larry. Was that some... Oh, no, I think I remember what that was. Yeah, no, I do know what that was now. I take that back. There's some interesting reflection. I forget what exactly what it is that causes the reflection. But thank you, Mr. Cable, for reminding me of the fact that there is an amusing reflection possible, and I presume only on the Porsche, because that's where that comes from. And technically the Porsche has turbos, so maybe it's a bit of a whoosh there as well. You can get in the car, but we'll focus more on the racing action once again, and bring our eyes back to Schmicke, Fitz, and Mazzomo. Jeff Adams having been passed by Mazzomo whilst we've been looking elsewhere on track, so a bit of a change in situation there, and also seem to have caught back up to Schmicke proper now as Blake Fitz, and here we go up towards Rivarts 1 and 2. He's getting awfully close in the slipstream here. Is that Ferrari, but the tap of the brakes on the way down towards the hill. And jump through the last couple of corners. See who gets the run onto the start-finish stretch, and the answer looks to be Fitz, as Schmicke, though, tighter through the last kink before the start-finish line. Might just push off the headroom to move across and protect the spot, but Ferrari with a straight line speed at the end of the start-finish straight, I would have said makes it work, but no. Misses the braking marker a long way past and flies off the road, and everyone comes racing back past Fitz on the exit of Tamburello. That was messy, to put it mildly there. Has to now whilst wait behind the Porsche RSR Kelly McLaren, if only briefly, until the Tosa hairpin. But my goodness, that was a little bit of excitement I didn't think I was going to see or need. There. Let's watch these cars move away. So there we go. The other Acura of the field, Greg Heaney, 11th in place at the moment, as he works his way down with Edward Rollo ahead, not for position, but Richard King on his gearbox. Would like that P11 if he can find a way through in the next little while. Acura versus Cadillac duel potentially up for grabs as they work their way through the Variante Alta and prepare for the run down to the Rivarzi corners once more. There you go, bit of gravel kick up from another car in what was the background of shot. Come on to the start-finish stretch once again. King a little closer. But as they make their way down the stretch, GTE traffic, and also no signs of massively closing in here. There's, oh, no. Can't get past the GTE cars before the Tamburello chicane, and we'll have to wait his turn for a chance to get a run-up. That's one of the other tricky things in these cars, is thanks to the way aero and tyre grip is at lower speeds, there isn't always a ton of extra grip necessarily versus, say, a GT car. So it takes a little bit to find the grip to get the car stabilized, and then the extra power and hybrid and less weight will all do its thing later, start really rocketing past other drivers. But it's sort of a bit of a messy, it can be a sort of a messy situation at points. If there's a slower speed stretch, you're not always guaranteed to get an immediate speed benefit. To sort of eventuate us. We're going to check back in here. Where we go, third place in GTE. Got Eli Donaldson in front of him at the moment as they work their way through Tamburello and on the runs of Villeneuve once again. They had lost touch with Ryan Jones. You can see a gap of around 6.7 seconds give or take a couple of tenths. To the class leader as they come around the Tosa Headman. They're now on their, 20th lap of the race. So coming up towards the halfway marker, if you will. Actually, we're practically on that halfway marker in about 30 seconds. It's about 38 minutes to go shortly here, and then once you get to 37.5 minutes, that's officially by the clock. It's going to be our halfway mark for this race tonight. Is just need to watch here. Donaldson and Gowan as they got a little bit of a clear out of themselves. A little wiggle though from Gowan, loses the run that he was having with Donaldson, and will now have to try and recover that a little bit more. As in the gravel, got one of our GTP cars. It's Kurt Chapman in the RTX Revolution E-Racing 916. Unfortunately, coming unstuck. And can tell you that unfortunately he did that by himself going into Rd-1, just braking too late. Nearly got into the back of Jeff Adams, but nearly is not actually. So able to carry on without too much fuss, as we'll go back to Fitz and Schmicke in this seemingly eternal battle for P7 in the race. And Fitz can confirm was strong through the very anti-alpha chicane, but it would appear that Schmicke steady enough down through Rivats is 1 and 2. Ferrari has the straight line speed again as we come up towards Tamburello. Traffic ahead, so pulls the pin on that one there and tries to wait, line up the run, go for something here as you've got Schmicke, Fitz and Mazzomo all trying to stick together. Mazzomo though gets stuck behind Trent Allen, and that slows down of course the momentum as they also pass by Johnny Banach here, and it gets close though as they come round the Tosa hairpin. A bit of a touch between Schmicke and Banach on the corner exit, and as the Cadillac understeered a fraction there. Mazzomo gets his chance back into the action, slowing behind Fitz at Piratella as they'll head on down the hill once more. So at this point in the race, most of our drivers still staying out on the track in GTP, but Jeff Adams stopped playing back on lap 19. They're currently on lap 23, 24 if you're looking at the Sam Sutton, the race leader. Lap 20 pit stop for Eduardo Zamora, a lap 11 stop for Kurt Chapman, sorry. And Dale Atkins coming to the pits on lap 21. In fact, we're probably getting a little closer towards these GTP cars being short on fuel. They should be able to do about 40-ish minutes, I think, maybe 45. Obviously, have our race leader as a bit of a benchmark, I think, as whilst we watch him, nearly a lap behind, Blake Fitz and Schmicke went at it again into the Tamburello chicane. And finally, Fitz gets the move done. In fact, he's actually the next GTP car up the road from these cars. Oh, there's actually a lap traffic, I take that back. But finally, Fitz released at the start of their lap 24, whilst Sutton here begins lap 25. And they continue to get this race underway. So Sutton, you can see here, continuing to maintain steady control of his on-track position. Campbell holding it around 3.5 seconds behind. It really was a case of no one had a clear shot through to be able to make grounds, it seems, in this race. Just having a look at my stuff that I can see on screen as we look here at Richard King trying to catch back up to Greg Heaney. Also got Shorb McKernan, who was traffic at the time. I can see Andrew at this point. You'd made a stop on lap 19. You'd in the process, unfortunately, you'd fallen 2 laps down at this point. And as you said, a bit of a couple of tough moments for yourself out on track. Any sort of like particular points or moments, as much as they weren't necessarily highlights, that perhaps might be worth making a note about if you're willing to share?
Absolutely not. You'll notice that I've not selected my car once on stream. All that I was showing was a complete lack of talent. And yeah.
You know what? Fair enough. I thought I might at least ask and see if maybe I'll get something out of it. But at the same time, I don't blame you for maybe focusing on just the driving that is happening out on the circuit at this point. Because
these really are a car that just drives so much differently than what the GT3s do. It's kind of my normal staple. Much different under braking, much different with the aero. Yeah, different beast. And just jump in there with no practice on a track that is not my cup of tea anyway. It was a rough night.
Yes, that certainly makes plenty of sense, as much as it's definitely a little rough, but I appreciate at least that much information that you're feeling happy to share. Gives us a little something to work with, I suppose. As continue to watch here Richie King as he tries to close up to Greg Heaney for what is now P9 in the race after there was a pit stop shortly before all of this happened, I think, if I'm looking at it right. Now, pardon me, I can't quite pick up who it would have been that came into the pits and they lost position to, unless it was Zamora. But I was under the impression he was behind. So that might have been a complete false alarm. They do also have the fact they've got race leader Sam Sutton coming up on them to put them a lap down here, as these GTP cars at the front of the field are on their 26th lap of stint. So it's coming up on 45 minutes since they started the race, give or take. Well, 45 minutes since they started the race. These cars have driven, so very much a one-stop race for our GTPs and GTEs alike. So pit strategy didn't seem to be too complicated for those who were going steady. I mean, it's a rough night for you, but in saying that, you weren't in retirement at this stage at all. Callan Hodgkinson had already retired about 12.5 minutes prior to this particular point in the recording that I was speaking of, and about 30 minutes. So he dropped out at about the 40-ish minute mark. Brooklyn Braden had retired at around the 45-minute mark, and David Baz close to 50 minutes remaining in the race, having dropped out. So just to put that all in a bit of perspective, per se, is continue watching Richard King, but just having a look at where else was our racing battle. Unfortunately, at this point, you can see things are a little bit calmer, but we may want to jump back to Jeff Adams and Eduardo Zamora if we can. Lovely, thank you very much, because this is one of our closer scraps at this point of the race. They've got Warren Ibbott there in front of them in the Ferrari that they might want to go and try and catch. As you can see, also still dealing with lapped traffic. Is up the inside goes Jeff, locks up the front though and runs in a bit deep at Rivazza 1. Thankfully, Cooper Friend able to see that one coming just enough to be able to run wide himself and preserve his vehicle. Wasn't too happy with it, but Jeff was also quick on the apology there to try and put up a peace flag, as then more traffic in the form of Joel and Hansen try and negotiate before Tamburello. Both cars would do so. Continued access to challenge for the spot, but as you can see there, that run through Tamburello being compromised by having to negotiate traffic causes them to spread out a fraction more. And then the close back up again seems a bit more confident at this point in the race than Adams when clean air permits.
Now, I have gotten to the bottom of that Porsche RSR livery there. It was loaded in without a livery, and my trusty IR sidekick livery just allocated it one out of its database.
Ah, okay. There you go. Bonus / random liveries. That explains a bit there, I guess. Very well. Well, this is the closest battle on track currently of any of our cars still running, but I can tell you, as it was We've been watching this. Your race leader Sam Sutton peeled into the pits at the end of his 28th lap. Now, it would appear some of our Porsche GTPs and Cadillacs can go a little bit longer, get a 29th lap out of the tank of fuel. But we are now, I believe, on the cusp of those GTP cars getting to the end of their stint and doing their necessary fuel and tyre, fuel stop, tyre change as well. As there you go, Sutton released from the pits, got Mazzono. Actually, no, coming out close behind, but nearly a lap apart. Yeah, you can see on the tower there. Lap 28 pit stop for Sutton. Mazzono's come in at the same time as a lap 27 stop because, yeah, after 45 minutes, nearly 50 minutes, the gap between them was already over a lap at this point in the session. So, the other challenge here you go, stone cold tyres for the GTP. So you've got to really, and as a result, there you go, Mazzono off in the gravel. Ends up having to pick the car back up. This is the thing with GTPs now. If you thought they didn't have any mechanical grip, they've now got absolutely no mechanical grip at this particular point in session. You really go back to basics and really take it with a soft approach. Did you put on fresh tyres at any point, Andrew, and have to really sort of go about driving a different way once that happened?
I went and put on tyres towards the end right before I pulled out. I was just getting in by then, so I put on some fresh tyres to see whether that made me any more sticky on the road and staying on the actual track, and didn't, so I quickly retired after that to went on the race.
Does take a fair few laps to get this car back into its working window with a fresh set of tyres on the car, so that is sort of the part of the challenges to this learning this car class. And good to see you, Josh. Thank you. Doing what we can with the good old replay here to get this broadcast finally up and ticked off to kick off the season here. As there we go, Matt Schmicke unfortunately finds the gravel on the exit of Rd-2. To just have a quick look through that one there. Unfortunately, it starts back at Rd-1 for the 571 Aussie Racers machine. Just in a bit too quick, and the rear snapped around on the exit of that apex. Just had to take his time then to make sure he rejoined at a safe spot, which practically ended up being the pit entry there for the 571. But you can see back up underway, and at this particular point in time, 8th place for him still, with Richard King only a second up the road here, so certainly still in the game. In fact, there you are, got the Northwind car of Edward Roller. Yes, Edward Roller unfortunately locking up and off the road. He went there in the 335 machine. And with that one little bit of traffic in the form of Kurt Nommensen dealt with for Schmicke. There you go, able to be released and get back on to racing for 7th place with King there in front. Looking like here this might be a pretty quickly done deal if Richard can't find a bit of pace, as these cars now coming up towards potentially doing 30 laps on the stint. So got some decent fuel economy here, and we're coming up quickly on only just 20 minutes, which is actually going to mean 55 minutes session, 55 minutes stint length. If we do, it's currently at about 50 minutes. So actually, it looks like my understanding of the fuel economy is more closer to an hour than I thought with these GTP cars. Is after 31 laps, your race leader Sean Campbell is now there in the pit lane. So he gets himself down with trying to go the overcut strategy here against former race leader Sam Sutton. See if that actually works out for him here, because traffic being one thing, but needing to bring the car back in to warm things up obviously might make for a good. Just had Blake Fitz on this my copy of the replay call over the radio, and this was an incident where he was passing by some GTE traffic, Jordan Dakin and Johnny Bannack, and down towards the Acque Minerale, ends up pushed wide, and contact sends him around. as we'll have to leave that one, of course, in the background of the replayers here with Woodsy. Just say Ben Woods. I should actually not also got Paul Woods in this one. So, and of course, Paul Woodsy Wood being his club nickname. So I guess there's a lot of that going around. As here you go, GTP lapped car, GTE car that's, well, also in a different class, but still trying to race there. Getting a little bit hectic there at the Tosa hairpin, but all drivers seem to make it through without fuss as we continue to watch here. Jeff Adams and Eduardo Zamora, and then having to swing past Thomas Cole, who was trying to stay out of the way. For a moment there, it looked like it was going to be a little bit exciting / crazy for these drivers. As I guess one of the things that the qualifying pace, maybe not necessarily fully representative, but perhaps gave an indication of Andrew, is that he did pull quite healthy numbers here at 45 starters, and it does come with a bit of a mix in the sort of field spread in both classes. So end up with situations where you have to really be on your toes, regardless of being the driver doing the lapping or the driver being lapped.
Yeah, there was certainly a driver briefing that went out earlier that said the GTP cars, it's 100% on them to get around the GT3 or GTE cars safely, and the GTE cars just sure they hold the racing line and be predictable.
And yeah, at the end of the day, that does make life easier if it is agreed upon. It generally is agreed upon and is a good rule of thumb to get the GTE cars and any car that's being lapped. Actually, really, even put it that way, it's not specifically GTE, GTP, but specifically just any car being lapped to go with staying on the racing line and letting everything else sort it out. Now, if we can actually jump to the race lead in GTP, because I've been sort of hinting at whether this might work, but you can see a 3-lap difference in pit stops, 3 laps on tyres that are warm versus cold, and also critically actually a good 5 seconds difference in pit stop time. Sean Campbell jumping out ahead of early race leader Sam Sutton. So yeah, 5 second difference. I'm going to have to wonder what helped generate that, because if that's fuel economy, that's a wild swing to have a 5 second difference in fuel. Looking at it, actually, I think in saying that Sutton might have overfilled his car, because I can just read through here. Campbell, 25 seconds in his pit box, nearly 26. Sutton, 30 seconds in his box. Lock and Capel back there in P3, 31 seconds in his box. Sorry, not 31, 25. I just need to bring up that data in 26. Sorry, I'll get this right at one point. Ben Woods, 25 seconds in his pit box as well. So actually, I think Sutton definitely overfilling his Porsche here in that pit stop. So it's given Campbell a chance to, with both overcut and pit stop, to try and do something about this race lead that he had dropped back from in the middle part of most of that first stint. Let's see now with these two together on track, and now it's Sutton's turn to have a slight tyre temperature advantage. Not for much longer though, because we are on lap 34, and so Campbell's been at this for now 3 flying laps. The tyre should be getting into its happy place and window, and allow him to start driving how he wants to, regardless of traffic and other considerations to this race. So we'll keep an eye on that gap there as the race goes on. At the moment, it is the only battle on track that I can see from our timing tower, unfortunately, so it's a bit of a pause in the racing action car on car as Donaldson, Eli Donaldson there in the background, a shot was off the road through the gravel at the Tamburello chicane, and the reason for that This looks like, unfortunately, in too hot, and he grabbed the grass with his right side tyres. So got him out of the way of the race leaders, I guess you could argue, but that's certainly not how he'd be wanting to do it in any stretch of the imagination, I'm sure. Race lead battle continuing here between Campbell and Sutton. Apparently Stephen Bull and Trent Allen are awfully close together as well at this particular point in time. And they are indeed currently together on track, the two for GTEs. They've also got Ben Gorange. No, that's yeah, Ben Gorange should be. Pardon me. They've passed Gorange since that timing tower updated at the start of the lap. So yeah, Whiskey Business M8 behind them. There. Losing spots at the start of lap 32 for these cars, because that's only 4 laps down on your race leader as they then continue down here. Look at that there, using all of the track, it looks like, for Bull. Certainly able to get that one pulled up very neatly, but that was awfully close to threatening loss of grip and flying his GTE up over the curbs, though that looked like it might have been a bit risky for a slowdown penalty of the sort. But as they head down towards Rd-1, looking like he might have got away with that slightly, because you wouldn't want to be hanging onto a slowdown any time about now, because that would be obviously a great risk for being vulnerable down the start-finish stretch. And with that, Trent Allen, half a second back, will try and press on with him here as they get passed by Martin Lipsky. There it is. And, one of our Ferrari 499Ps in this race tonight. And it looks like, there was a bit of trouble just on the other side of the circuit between Kurt Nommensen and Rodney Gowan. And it appears to have happened. Oh dear. So, to piece that one together, we had Blake Fitz passing Nommensen, who ends up a little wide and loose, but then Rodney Gowan, a little target fixated as he came down towards the Aqua Minerale complex. As a result, ends off there as checking back in with the race leaders, gap up to about 1 second from half a second or so. So Campbell finding a bit of rhythm. And of course, when you are the race leader, you do sort of get to dictate the flow through traffic a little bit. And that can always help out the situation when you're trying to find the best way through. And also potentially, if you can, find a chance to get through, and car behind has to wait. Especially when we're talking about these different classes, different speeds that can be carried through, the medium and high speed stuff in particular. Although on this particular occasion, as they pass by Joel and Hansen, both Campbell and Sutton will clear and allow them to take the Variante Alta chicane as they normally would. And so there you go, gap back down to half a second. The ebb and flow continuing here between these two drivers at the front of the field. And so coming down inside now, 15 minutes to go in this race. Exactly how this one is going to play out. Obviously, of course, I do have the results available, but that's not for me to share until we see these guys cross the checkered flag. You can also see there Richard King, some kind of issue for him. Or pardon me, it was Blake Fitz had a moment up at the Variante Alta chicane, and it caused allowed King to catch up to Fitz quite substantially. Unfortunately, unforced error rolled by Blake Fitz. You'll see there is the lap data updates. He drops behind in position both Zamora and Mazzomo as well. But the driver we haven't seen for a little while in this race, Craig Bond, was in the top 5 earlier on in the start of the race and threatening for position, and still is threatening a top 5. This is Brendan Grotch who holds that position at the moment now as they passed by GTE traffic in the form of Jake Kalman. And they're going to have Greg Heaney as a bit more traffic, but of the GTP variety as well, to try and get through here. So this is one to watch in the closing now 13 minutes of the race to see how things go here. Who's got the better pace in their race car to finish things off. Critically looking at things, Grotch, 23-second pit stop, might be slightly under-fueled. And Bondi, 32-second stop, he's definitely overfilled. So this, if everything had gone a bit more normally, might have been the other way round for those two there. But we'll check in with them later because the gap has fanned slightly. In the last couple of corners, pardon me, as we'll tune in with the race leaders once again. Continues to be our closest battle on track. Campbell gets past forward to try and give himself some space. To Sam Sutton behind. But Sutton able to clear pretty neatly on the exit of the Acra Minerale complex and keep that gap at around 7 to 8 tenths as they clamber over the curbs and race on down towards Rd-1. And there you go. Another bit of GTE traffic going to arrive here on the nose. Ben Gorringe just minding his business, but it slows down Campbell by about 2 tenths. There you go. Inside of 0.4, 5%, sorry, coming down towards 0.4. And how are they there? Exactly right on the 2/10 lap difference between these two drivers in favour of Sam Sutton. Work the way through Tamburello. Once more, Thomas Cole, Trent Allen, Stephen Bull, the next 3 cars on track. They'll have to negotiate. There you go. Compressing again, 0.2 of a second now between the top 2 as they try and get around, finishing around Cole there, pardon me. Leaving a plenty healthy gap on the inside at Tosa. Bondi also getting up inside of a second on Brandon Grotch. So he did so with a very nice second improvement on that last lap there. Especially Richard King, a moment of his own on the previous lap, drops back to 12th with some more Mazepati in a 3-car battle. And then on the other side of the circuit to our leaders here for Rodney Golan. Up at the Tosa hairpin entry to it. He's ended up around, was 7th at the time. Unfortunately, just a little too fast. And actually ends up, there was contact with Mazomo, who was trying to pass by in the GTPs in the aftermath of that there. Luckily for Mazomo, it would appear no major damage. For Golan, though, it did rip off the front end of his Porsche RSR, so either try and have to soldier on with 10 minutes ago or move it back to the pits and fix it up. So, class battle for GTE has now come down to Eli Donaldson and Johnny Banach here. Just another 10 minutes to go now in this one, folks. So, piecing it all together now. It's sort of coming along pretty quickly now. And as they work their way up over the hill, there you go, you've got Ibbett passing by, and then your race leaders together, as they have been now for a while. Put the GTE field in its entirety another lap down, as Donaldson, Campbell, Sutton all sort of vying for roughly the same bit of racetrack through Rd-1's 1 and 2. And that tighter line checks up Sutton to about 9/10 back and gives Banach a chance to set up a run for the class leaders. Down the start-finish stretch, they'll go side by side. And Banach to the inside, should have this one sorted through Tamburello. Takes the first apex, takes the lead away from Donaldson, and appears to come out the other side in front, but there's nothing in it as they head up towards the Villeneuve chicane. Left, right, block, contact, both cars around to the gravel. And the rear wing flies off Donaldson's Ferrari. Banach spins and looks relatively undamaged, but it's going to mean that Ryan Jones there in the foreground of the shot will return to the class lead. And after all of that, what looked like it should have been a clean and decisive move from Banach there, then defending the position, although I think that one had to go to the stewards. And indeed was assessed after the race by race control as a moving on the brakes penalty for Banach in that particular incident there. So we did see, of course, Johnny did start middle of the road, then head back to the right. But, end of the day, it gives the race lead in this class back to Ryan Jones, who had been entangled in an incident. And actually, I believe it might have been with you, Andrew, at one particular point. According to this, yes, it was, unfortunately, a cross-class incident. A mistake that happened there. But there you go. Jones will resume the class lead for the GTE category with 6.5 minutes on the clock. Sutton and Campbell still together and trying to break this deadlock. Probably not going to happen anytime soon there. 18 seconds back to Lachlan Capel currently sitting on the last place at the podium. He's another 23 seconds ahead of Ben Woods in P4, and he's got a little bit of gap to Graham Grosh and Craig Bond. At this point, only 6 cars in the GTP category on the lead lap of the race. It has been quite the field spread, as I was suggesting. And Andrew won't speak of that incident. Fair enough.
No, that is correct.
I'll accept that. I'll accept that for what it is. As this becomes our big battle of the race. Got Heaney as a party together. Whiskey Business cars there, 10th and 11th as well. We'll keep an eye on that gap on the screen to see if it changes much at all. But there you go, Campbell with a new personal best, 29.271. 29 was at 3, I think it was, for Sutton on that particular. Yep, 29.2 blow to 29.3. Barely a tenth in it between these two drivers. Those two drivers at that point in time. And while their gap got close, it was about to blow out thanks to passing by lap traffic. So to the Whiskey Business boys, we will go. This final spot in the top 10. Which way could it possibly go? At this point, Heaney apparently up 10 spots. Yes, started 20th in the race and now up to 10th, although as a party looking to get back into the 10, having started and losing a spot there over the course of this race. I'll certainly be hoping for a little more. And I'm sure they'd go at that one and race it best they can. As there you go, lock up from Thomas Cole, I think. Yes, is the GTE car there present. And it's out of the way of not just as a party, but also you've got Richard King there, who has passed through in all of this. How much you gained, huh? Where are the results that I'm looking for here. Yeah, I mean, look. Definitely some gains there, Thomas. Given you officially a classified starting 47th, I'd argue it's 45th when we subtract the cars that didn't start. We'll talk about that later on because you can see here the traffic giveth, the traffic taketh away. Back to 0.3 of a second between Campbell and Sutton here on lap 45. Just 3 minutes left in, well, they're coming up to 3 minutes left in the race session. Which actually is interesting because 3 minutes ago, I would have thought they're doing just under 1 minute 30 laps. There could only be another... Could only be another couple of minutes remaining, but we've apparently got another 5 laps to go, so maybe... Interesting. I wonder if something with the replays is up, because so there's 2.5 minutes left in session according to my race clock. That doesn't add up. I was going to say, out of curiosity, I'm trying to think what the control is called again. If you were to, Andrew, if you were to go to your, I think it was session state, I think it is, or something like that. Or something of the sort. There's like control for the laps and the time display. There's, Sutton runs it wide. And that might have just been the end of the fight for the GTP class leadership. If you were to toggle showing like the race time or the race laps, like turn it off and turn it back on again, would that change what we're seeing there? Replay quirks. Well, at the same time, the fact that it works at all in a replay state is not something you can say about too many programs. There you are, 47 of apparently about 50 underway here now, and gap of 2.2 seconds for Sean Campbell to bring it home.
The replays work well so long as you work within the quirks that they've got. As soon as you go wrong, it just the whole timing okay, doesn't.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, yes, indeed, because sort of trying to draw data out of a magic hat with a replay, in many respects. So it's a bit more science than maths. They passed by Nick Wood there to put a GTE car between top two in this race. And from there, things might be a bit of a tame ending. Just trying to look at where battle packs might be, but from what I can see, pardon me, here we are. Jeff Adams, Simon Mazzomo, last car for P8 in the race. That's which way this might fall. And I look away, and Mazzomo is now in front. All right, there we go. That's a quality comment from me, if ever there was one. So Mazzomo gets through, and a bit of GTP traffic behind stalls out Jeff Adams' ability to keep up with him here. As a party, 17 seconds back, so he's not going to be able to catch them. So leaders continue on. Lap 48 of what apparently was going to be 50 in this one here. So Not long left to go now in this race. And oh, there you go. Richard King behind both Whiskey Business cars as a party ahead of Greg Heaney, so a pass there off screen that we slightly missed out on there. And Stephen Bull takes to the gravel to just avoid the traffic incoming. A little bit of a duck off the road there, not racing Jordan Dakin, who he's now got directly behind him in that GTE class, but nevertheless, potential 3-car scrap here for midfield placings that could eventuate with the right bit of racecraft or moments. Indeed, King looking close to King. Oh, King closing on Heaney, I should say, as we get towards the end of this one. As a party looking a little more comfortably ahead. As then Richard King goes wide through the Variante Alta. Can't get the car pulled up, and he ends up losing all of the ground I'm sure he wanted to have. And so that's going to see him drop out of a position to contend for that little battle there. And so it's just going to be the Whiskey Business cars in this Linus Stern run. They start their 48th lap. The leaders, though, are coming to the white flag. Sean Campbell, Sam Sutton to get this one started. Lap 50 is now underway. And into the race is only 4.95, it was 4.95 kilometers away. And the gap down to about a second, so here you go. It's closed down nearly half of what it was. And Sutton ended up running off the road down at the Aqua Minerale. Now for Campbell, he's already ticked off nearly a third of a lap, coming up towards half. So it's been a race where he sat in second for a while, lost a bit of ground in the opening stage, but a clinical execution of the pit stop sequence, it seems, and critically several seconds saved in the set pit stop. Whether that is just fuel or if there was something else there, appears to have helped him get the position that he needed to contest for this race win. Out of the Variante Alta, just 2 corners left, and one of them is singular braking zone for the pair of them to negotiate the end of this lap. Down the hill, brake rotors glow there on the Cadillac. The Cadillac V-Series GTP, but out of reverse 2, and for the first race of the season in this GTP class of the Disruptive Labs Gentlemen's Endurance Championship, Sean Campbell going to be your race winner from Sam Sutton, with just 1.2 seconds splitting them at the line at the end of the race. For the rest of the field, you have to wait a little while before we'll see those drivers get on through. Cable there to round out the podium goes 3rd place for the 918 machine. GTE field, we have a while to wait as damaged car stricken on the start-finish stretch. That would be... Oh. Ben Woods passing across the line there. It's the 121 of Jordan Dakin, who's turned the car around to get it back home as a couple more cars come across the line here. Craig Bond is up into P5 to finish the first race of this one. The season, I should say, here tonight. Mazzomo behind Jeff Adams on a lap down in 8th and 9th respectively. Then the Whiskey Business cars as a party ahead of Heaney, the 10th and 11th there. And just now onto the start finish stretch, there it is. Ryan Jones takes the class win for GTE and just 0.4 of a second ahead of Johnny Banach. A gap had come back down out of nowhere, it seems. But Jones, despite his troubles out on track, ends up the one to claim the opening spoils. And with that, I think we'll be able to grab our race results as looks like everyone's just about across the line. And 45 drivers took the start. We'll start here. So this is our outright results. So of course, points will get divided up by class. So both Sean Campbell and Ryan Jones will each earn 100 points, so on and so forth. 1.2 seconds, though, the margin at the line between him and Sam Sutton for this opening race. And then have to go to 20 seconds off of Campbell for Lachlan Capel to round the podium. 47 seconds behind the leader for Ben Woods there in fourth. And it was about a minute or so. 1 minute 11 for Craig Bond, the minute 55 for Brendan Grotch for your last two at survival from the lead lap. Your one lap down drivers, Matt Schmicke, Jeff Adams, Simon Mazzomo, Travis Azzopardi, Greg Heaney, and Richard King, covering positions 7 through 12. 2 laps down to Blake Fitz, Eduardo Zamora, Martin Lipsky, Dale Atkins, and Warren Ibbett for 13th through 17th place. Edward Rollo 4 laps down 18th, and then with the showing outright positions, we see that Ryan Jones, Johnny Banach, your top two there in the GTE class that we saw coming across the line together, also 4 laps down on the GTP field there to round things off at the front of the field. And then going over the page real quick, it's a host of GTE cars in the actually covers all of the 20s. So third car in class was Stephen Bull. 4th place to Trent Allen. 5th place to Paul Wood. P6 to Ben Gorringe. They were 5 laps down on the outright lead. Joel Hansen has a... there we go. Can actually walk you through it here on the screen as well. Joel Hansen, 6 laps down, along with Kelly McLaren and Joel Janssens. 7 laps down for Rod DeGowan. 8 laps for Jake Cowan, and same for Thomas Cole. P47 up to P30 in the outright rankings there for you, Thomas. Jordan Dakin also 8 laps down in 31st. Mind you, those are laps down relative to the outright lead. Not so much each individual class. Then get over the page, you will see this page here, Eli Donaldson and Nick Wood, last 2 cars there in the GTE class, although I do believe they were early retirements at 13 laps down apiece. Same for Sherman McKernan, Sean Dorey, Kurt Chapman, Kurt Nommensen, Andrew Neal, Cooper Friend, Callan Hodgkinson, Brooklyn Braden, David Baz, Sean Akers, Luke King, and Adam Lavis to round out the field. So 45 starters, and by my math, we're looking at 31 finishes here tonight. So that is the results from the opening week of racing, and there were a host of penalties that did get issued. In fact, it actually is quite the important wall of penalties. Some time penalties: Kurt Chapman, Dale Atkins, Callan Hodgkinson, Chapman again, Martin Lipsky, Andrew Neal, Blake Fitz, Johnny Banach were the only drivers to get time penalties during the race. So that obviously does matter in the sense of for Banach, time penalty hurts, but him and Ryan Jones are the only 2 drivers to be a lap up, as it were, relative the rest of the GTE class. So it actually won't lose him any positions or anything like that. So that was the race as it was run and done. I don't know if we're actually going to have anyone perhaps come and give us a surprise hello here tonight. But if is anyone watching the broadcast who did race on Friday and wants to perhaps say a quick hello, any comments on the race, you are welcome to quickly jump in if you'd like, as we sort of look to wind things up here for this one, broadcast-wise, mind you, and talk a little bit about what's coming up next week for this series. So of course, it'll run on Friday nights, and in fact, we'll talk about the entire broadcast week coming up. So Saturday, which obviously was less yesterday night, the beginning once again of the Mountain Men series. The wheel spin was for the TCR class, so drivers got themselves a chance to run 32 laps at the mountain last night, and and that race time has been adjusted slightly, so they will start at 8 p.m. For this autumn season, if you will. But talking more about broadcasts and where we're going, starting with the Monday night show, Adam Lavis and Zach Caban at the stage to bring you waste options Monday night with wings and slicks in the F3 class, F3 cars, heading to the Algarve International Circuit in Portimao for a sprint round to kick things off. Broadcast from 7:25, race start at 8:30, 7:30, sorry. Get those times right and maybe not make a meal of it. And then about an hour later, indeed an hour later, to allow drivers to jump out if they so wish, we will take the GT3 drivers to the Autodromo Internazionale del Mugello for a 60-minute regular round. And we will have Adam broadcasting the Pro-Am split, broadcasting from 8:25, green flag, scheduled for 8:30. And then for the Tuesday night session, which has been declared committee's choice this season, it will be more TCR racing, but at the Knock Hill circuit. 3 sprint races, custom sort of configuration there. So we'll see what comes up. Server for that one, we don't have a race start time sort of put in the schedule, so just note the server goes up at 7 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time on Tuesday night there, if you wanted to be part of that action. And then that's just the first little bit of the week to wrap up things for week 2 of the season. Wednesday night, we will hopefully get this broadcast, but it is it's a slight question mark depending on how work goes for me as to whether I'll be able to get both of the merch.GSRC.inc supercar support stuff race, which is of course our Toyota 86s this season, out alongside our Trophy A supercars broadcast. I'll definitely be able to broadcast the supercars, so that's a given, pretty much, regardless of what happens. But hopefully we will get the broadcast out for 86s as well. Green flag 7:30. Broadcast from 7:25. Note it is a sprint round for the 86s, so if you want to race, just make sure you're online by about 7:15 Australian Eastern Time for that one there. And for the supercars, 40 minutes at VIR. Well, both categories racing at VIR, but regular 40-minute race means that you should be able to jump in and sign up all the way up until 8:45 on Wednesday night for the Trophy O supercars in their 2 divisions there. But that's a sort of see what happens. And then on Thursday night with the Disruptive Labs support of the Formula V series, seeing that car head to Alton Park for a super sprint round. You'll be able to join Matt Schmicke and Zach Caban at 7:25 p.m. Australian Eastern Time for that. Green flag from 7:30 with the sprint round stuff again. Likewise, make sure you're in the server by 7:15 on Thursday night for the Vs if you want to race. And then you can also rejoin Andrew, who will be back on the buttons alongside Zach for the GSRC Porsche Cup with our Elite and Open divisions in 2 separate servers. That series is heading to Long Beach for what could be a bit of a wild night for you there. Andrew, sprint round of 2 races, and you'll be broadcasting both the open split for race 1 and then the elite split for race 2. So you've also got that little bit of jumping around to worry about as well. And then to wrap things up here from the end of the week, Friday night we'll see the drivers once again return to the circuit for the Disruptive Labs Gentelmens Endurance Championship as we take the field to the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez, otherwise, of course, the Mexico City circuit, taking the Grand Prix configuration and a longer race once again with 105 minutes, an hour and 45 on the clock for that one there. The expected thing is that would start, green flag at 8:30 p.m. Broadcast is also to be sort of figured out, whether it's me, whether it's you. We don't know just yet, folks, but there will be some form of broadcast. You can be assured of that. And that is the week ahead. And of course, the obligatory broadcasting. And we can, of course, thanks to the fact that this is a replay, we can quickly check the championship standings, which is probably a good idea to go over things for this one here. We'll obviously do our best to keep you all informed and up to date on this stuff as the races go on. So a new point scheme as well, folks. I'm sure you're those who are racing in the club hopefully are aware of that one there. So 100 points was the maximum for the race result tonight, and so that of course goes the way of Ryan Jones. Then some bonus points mean he comes out currently 4 points clear of Johnny Bannack, who picked up the pole position bonus and also looks like a fastest lap bonus as well to get him a little something there, with Stephen Bull going to round out the class podium at this stage. You can see there, of course, down 15 drivers, all scoring a point. And that is down mostly to qualifying, because it's interesting to note there that we had 14 who finished the race and got classified. That's that there for them. And then on our GTP side of things, indeed, Sean Campbell, once again, exactly the same point situation for him. Started second, finished first, 101 points to his name after the race. Sam Sutton, 87 points for pole position and finishing second. Lockley Capel, another 8 points back for P3, with our drivers down to Brooklyn Braden in 19th play, equal 19th with Sean Dorey. Points to their name, and 18 drivers down to Edward Rollo being classified for their race results. And so that is just about it, folks, for this broadcast here tonight, to wrap things up, to kick off the season. And hopefully we'll be able to see plenty more of this good racing here on the platforms of the Gentelmens Sim Racing Club. It can't happen without the support of the sponsors who have been cycling around on screen, of course, to be able to make this broadcast, race control, and all of that happen here. So a big thanks to Disruptive Labs, title sponsor of the season on the whole, and the Gentelmens Endurance Championship here for season 2026B. To Waste Options, our supporter of Monday night racing, and Trophy AI supporting Wednesday nights with the supercars. Flash Graphics for livery designs and the like. And of course, the merch store, merch.GSRC.inc for getting club merchandise. There's also some select team merchandise options that can be arranged through the store there. So there's plenty of options to get your handle on if you're looking to support the club or be able to support your own team there as well. Merch.GSRC.inc is the place to go for all of that one there. But that will have to do us, folks, and wrap up this broadcast from Imola here to kick off the Gentelmens Endurance Championship for season 2026B of the club. And big thanks to Andrew Neal for being able to get this one together after getting a chance to have a steer. And hopefully we won't run into too many situations where it's all good until all of a sudden, the train's left the station and the next one's not for 15 minutes and I get stuck in the city in Melbourne. as a result on a Friday night. My name has been Dino Yeaman. Andrew Neal, of course, here, pressing the buttons for us this afternoon to make this broadcast possible. Big thanks to all the drivers who took part on the Friday night. Hopefully we'll see as many of them back as possible come next Friday night. And we'll hopefully have a broadcast for them as well that they can enjoy after the race too, live or otherwise the same. Till the next one, folks, take care. Have yourselves a great rest of your weekend and start to your week. As of course that's coming up pretty shortly here, being a Sunday and tomorrow a Monday. And until the next time that I'm on air, hopefully during the week as well, look forward to seeing you in the stream, out on track, or otherwise take care of yourself and have a good one. Till then, bye for now.